Congressman, thanks so much for joining us tonight. It's good talking to you, sir.
Pleasure to be with you, Cam.
All right. Well, 4 senior managers involved with Fast and Furious are going to be out of a job if recommendations from a disciplinary panel are accepted. So that means that story's over, right? We can all go back to paying attention to Kate Middleton's new baby, and we don't have to worry about this Fast and Furious stuff anymore.
If we're going to worry about something besides Fast and Furious, we need to worry about Benghazi. But I don't think we're done with Fast and Furious yet. The final report about the highest level of involvement is still pending in the Government Oversight and Reform Committee. But we are excited. Well, excited isn't the right word. We're happy to see that the Justice Department is actually acknowledging there's a problem. Obviously, not good when it's career-ending for somebody, but there needs to be some consequences for colossal screw-ups.
Absolutely. And, in your opinion, does that extend to the Justice Department? All of these are ATF officials, and it looks like that's where the Obama administration would clearly like to leave the disciplinary measures.
Obviously, you don't want it to climb up the chain of command. I think they're maybe a little bit of afraid about how high it'll actually lead. And again, that's why we're continuing to investigate. We're continuing to pursue the contempt of Congress proceedings in civil court against Eric Holder. That's why we're going to do what we can to follow up on the Inspector General's recommendation that we continue to investigate how high this goes, and any leads that they could not follow in the Inspector General's office because they got no cooperation from the White House.
Absolutely. And to that end, we saw the news stories, I believe it was last week, at a hearing on the contempt of Congress case. Both sides announced that they'd been talking about reaching some sort of settlement. Can you tell us anything about that? And I got to tell you, Congressman, I think there are a lot of people who are very, very concerned that any sort of settlement will mean the Obama administration is allowed to withhold documents that we deserve to see.
Well, I call myself a recovering attorney, even though I'm still licensed to practice law in the state of Texas. And I can tell you that given the opportunity, judges always want the parties to come to a consensus. And that's what the judge in D.C. basically encouraged the parties to do. I don't think the attorneys for the House of Representatives and the Government Oversight and Reform Committee are going to be satisfied unless we get a fairly decent degree of cooperation from the Attorney General.
Of course, if you had gotten that, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Absolutely not. I mean, it goes back to what we've been saying all along. For executive privilege to apply, which is what the Justice Department and the White House is claiming, that means it goes to the highest levels in the White House, the deliberative process between the president and his aides. But we've heard from the president in media reports that he had little or no knowledge or involvement. They can't have it both ways.
Absolutely right, Congressman. And so, what's the timeline on this court case? And at what point do the sides say, okay, you know what, we tried, and nope, can't come to an agreement. We're going to have to go to court.
I think we'll follow this through to the end. The wheels of justice always turn slower than we would like. I mean, you look at how long it took for the Supreme Court to rule on Obamacare. Going from the trial level all the way up to the Supreme Court took nearly 4 years. I certainly hope this doesn't go that far, but we are this is a case about the fundamental issues of the separation of powers within the government. Those are the kind of cases that typically go to the Supreme Court.
Talking with Congressman Blake Farenthold, Republican from Texas. Congressman, thank you again, sir. And do you know any idea when we might see this third and final report from the House Oversight Committee?
I'm expecting in the early part of next year. But they've been a little slower than I would have liked, but I'm not going to quarrel with that because I'd rather them be thorough and accurate than fast and furious.
Absolutely. Got to ask you while we have you here, what's your thoughts on where we stand with the fiscal cliff and the negotiations and the I have to say, in my opinion, a rather ridiculous offer from President Obama. I mean, where do you think this is all going to end up?
Well, the House stands ready to negotiate with the White House. The ball's in their court now. We were told this morning when the Republican conference met to don't plan anything with non-refundable tickets over Christmas. So I guess I'm going to have to go cancel my cliff diving lessons in Mexico. I do not want to go over that cliff.
Congressman, listen, really appreciate your time, sir, and look forward to talking again very soon.
All right, you take care, Cam.
Congressman Blake Farenthold, a Republican from Texas, joining us here on NRAnews.com.